You pull the plastic off a new iron set on the first tee of the season. The face is fresh, the grooves sharp, the sole still carrying that factory sheen. You paid $899 for the privilege. And if you're like the average club golfer, you'll repeat this act every 3 years, convince the new model adds something real to your score. The data tells a different story. Golf Digest's equipment testing panel, which has run controlled robot swings on every major iron release since 2003, tracks exactly how much distance and forgiveness each generation delivers. The answer, across more than 20 years of testing, hovers between 0 and 3 yards per club per cycle. That's less than the margin of error on a single swing from a human golfer. But the story gets worse than marginal gains. The real cost isn't the sticker price. It's the psychological trap buried inside that purchase, the belief that the tool matters more than the 10,000 practice swings you never took. Let's start with what happens in your head when you hand over the credit card for a new set. A 15-year study by the Journal of Sport Behavior found that golfers who buy new equipment report an average of 11% higher enjoyment in their first 3 rounds. The score improvement, measured across the same rounds, averages 0.3 strokes. The bump is purely emotional. You feel better, you do not play better. The club manufacturers know this. The launch cycle is engineered to exploit that emotional gap. In 2002, the average iron generation lasted 5 years. By 2010, it had compressed to 3. By 2019, 2.5. The innovation cycle hasn't accelerated. Marketing has. The physical difference between a 2021 P790 and a 2024 P790 is a reshaped sole and a different chrome finish. The distance gain after robot testing is 1.7 yards. You paid $899 for 1.7 yards. That's $529 per yard. A new set of irons is the most expensive distance improvement in the sport. A 1-hour lesson with a PGA professional costs $60 and can add 10 to 15 yards across the whole bag. The data is screaming at you. The commercials are whispering. Let that number sit for a moment. $529 for a yard you barely feel. If that kind of cold arithmetic is what you come here for, subscribe to this channel. I don't sell launch cycles, I sell the numbers behind them. And while you're at it, drop $529 in the comments if that per yard cost gave you the same jolt it gave me. Because that single figure holds the whole industry's playbook. The second mechanism is harder to see because it happens slowly. When you buy new irons, you stop practicing with your old ones. The new clubs feel foreign for the first 20 to 50 swings. You lose the muscle memory you built over 2 or 3 years. A study published in Perceptual and Motor Skills tracked 112 amateur golfers across an equipment swap. The group that kept their existing 7-iron for 6 months of structured practice improved their scoring average by 2.3 strokes. The group that bought a new set and practiced the same amount improved by 0.9. The new clubs ate over half your potential gain before you hit the course. Here's the truth that ties all of this together. The club at the top of your bag has undergone more design iteration in the last 3 years than the one in your hands now. The driver has gotten lighter, hotter, more forgiving. The putter has seen grooves, weights, and face inserts redrawn every 18 months. Those make a measurable difference at swing speeds beyond 95 miles per hour, which is roughly 1% of the amateur population. The iron hasn't changed. An iron is a piece of forged or cast steel that launches a ball roughly the same height and speed it did in 1996. The distance numbering convention was standardized in the early 2000s, meaning your new 5-iron is now lofted like your old 4-iron, and your pitching wedge is now a 9-iron. You aren't hitting it farther, you're holding a club with a different number on the bottom. And here's the sting that stays with you. The average club member who buys new irons every 3 years spends approximately $9,000 more on equipment between ages 35 and 65 than a player who replaces on a 7-year cycle, holds lessons, and keeps the same wedges for 4 years. The difference between the two players' handicaps at retirement age is less than 1 full stroke. You spent $9,000 for a rounding error on the scorecard. If you have ever stood on the practice green, sliding a new gap wedge back into the bag and feeling that faint whisper of doubt as the receipt crumpled in your pocket, you know what I'm describing. It's not the feeling of a smarter purchase. It's the quiet sense that the marketing team knew more about your psychology than you wanted to admit. Let's stay with that feeling for a moment, because the third mechanism is the most insidious, and it lives inside the fine print of nearly every large equipment manufacturer's trade-in program. Trade-in programs are not designed to give you fair value for your old clubs. They are designed to reduce the friction of the next purchase. A 3-year-old iron set in excellent condition has an actual resale value of roughly 40 to 50% of its original price. The average trade-in offer, calculated across the 4 largest online dealers in 2023, pays approximately 17% of original retail. You lose 30 cents on every dollar of value the moment you choose trade-in over private sale. But the system knows you won't sell privately. It takes photographs, listings, shipping. Trade-in promises convenience and instant discount, which feels like value, but is in fact a 30% loss on a $900 set. That's $270 you burned to avoid an hour of internet work. The industry calls this friction cost engineering. The goal is not to maximize your satisfaction. The goal is to minimize the time between when you feel the urge to upgrade and when you act. Every extra dollar of friction you experience during the sale reduces your odds of buying new. So the manufacturers pour marketing budget into making the trade feel effortless, and they capture the spread. That is the mechanism I want you to remember. Friction cost engineering. If this resonates with you, there's a lot more where this came from. Link in the description. And in the comments, write the word friction if you have ever used a trade-in program and wondered whether you got a fair deal. Because naming the mechanism is the first step to opting out of it. Now consider the psychology of the unsold set you keep at home. A YouGov survey conducted in 2021 found that 38% of club golfers who own more than one full set of irons reported playing fewer than 5 rounds per year with the older set. The clubs sit in a garage or a basement corner, losing $50 to $150 in resale value. Every year they remain untouched. A set kept idle for 4 years loses on average 62% of its remaining value, just from dust and neglect. The system works because each decision is small enough to feel harmless. A new set every 36 months, a trade-in that saves $180, a backup set that might be useful someday. Added up across 25 years of active golf, these small decisions drain approximately $11,000 from a household that believes it's capturing value. But here is where the story turns. The best iron set for your game is almost certainly the one you already own, paired with a single $400 fitting session that adjusts lie angle, shaft length, and grip size. The MyGolfSpy fitting database, which tracks outcomes across over 50,000 amateur fittings, shows that the average unsuspecting golfer who gets professionally fit into their existing clubs gains 4.2 yards of carry distance per iron. That's more than the total combined gain of 3 consecutive equipment generations. The numbers are stark. $420 for a fitting that extracts 15 to 20 yards from the bag you already carry. $899 for a new set that extracts 1.7. The math demands a question you might not want to answer. Did you buy those new irons because your equipment was failing you, or because the system made you feel your equipment was failing you? That question cuts to the bone. Before you answer it, consider subscribing to this channel if you want to keep seeing the data that the launch videos skip. I walk through the evidence, not the promises. And in the comments, type your set, the model you currently play, if you are ready to stop chasing the new and start refining the old. I want to know how many of us are sitting on a perfectly good bag that just needs a better relationship with its owner. This isn't a suggestion to go cheap. It's an invitation to stop believing the edge of your wallet belongs to the launch cycle. The clubs you have are likely better than your swing can fully use. The money you were going to spend on the next set could buy you 6 lessons, a real fitting, and a week at a short game academy. And let me ask you something honest. When you look at the clubs in your bag right now, do you know exactly where your miss patterns fall? The distance between where you are and where you want to be is almost never the distance between a 2022 iron and a 2025 iron. It's the distance between the ball you strike on the driving range on a Tuesday afternoon and the ball you strike on the first tee on Saturday when the stakes feel real. That gap is closed with repetition and attention, not plastic wrap and a credit card receipt. Here is what the evidence demands you accept. The club industry extracted $43 billion in global revenue in 2023. The average golfer's handicap, tracked since 1965, has improved by less than 2 strokes. The system grows because the gap between what you spend and what you get is never the club's fault. It's your next move. You are not a bad player because you own last generation's model. You are being played by the rate of change. And the only winning move is to shift your spending away from the thing that changes least, the iron head, and toward the thing that changes most, your body, your rhythm, your repeatable motion. The final and most dangerous cost is not visible on any receipt. It's the erosion of trust. Every time a new set arrives and the score stays the same, a small piece of your belief in your own improvement chips away. You stop trusting the process. You stop trusting practice. You stop trusting that you can get better without buying something. That is the quiet hemorrhage the data never tracks, the slow abandonment of the idea that mastery belongs to the patient, not the well-marketed. So next time the launch video drops, and the grooves look sharper, and the chrome reflects differently, and the promise whispers that this one is different. Stop. Count to 30. Open the My Golf Spy longitudinal test results for that model, which are freely readable on a browser. See the actual yardage the robot delivered. Then ask yourself, are you chasing a shot shape, or are you chasing a feeling you lost somewhere between the first swing and the last 3-way bet? The feeling won't be in the box. It's already in your garage, in the set you stopped trusting before you gave it a real chance. Pick it up, hit 50 balls. See what happens when you stop looking for the replacement and start looking for the refinement. One more thing. If you felt even a flicker of recognition in that story about the garage set, I want you to leave a comment. Write the model of the irons you walked away from. Tell me which one you stopped believing in and why. The answer matters more than you think, because the mechanism that made you give up on that set is the same one the entire industry runs on. And once you name it, it stops working.